My bet is that you learned a lot of things in school, but the unfortunate part is that they left out literally the most important thing that you can learn, which is how to learn. That is what my goal here is, to teach you using principles from the book Limitless by Jim Quik, the ultimate learning guru. I will help you be able to learn faster, retain what you learn, and use it in your life, which is you'll learn is the most important component. And this is important because, as Jim says himself, the faster you learn, the faster you earn. And I know all you guys are trying to earn a little bit of extra money. And so let's get right into it. The first thing to recognize is that your brain is not stuck in any state. If you think that you're slow, that you can't learn, that you're dumb. Jim Quik, the author, went through so many, he had his horrible head injury as a child. Everyone called him slow. A teacher literally pointed to him and said, "This is the kid with the broken brain," because no one thought he was smart. No one thought he was capable of learning because of his disability. But yet, he discovered through his journey that with the right tools, with the right methods, mindset, and motivation, he was able to learn anything that he wanted to be, and it became his superpower. And then he used that superpower to help others learn as much as they can, and ended up changing so many lives, earning an incredible amount of income, and living the life of his dreams in the process. And now this is something he points out in the book is not something that only a chosen few can do. It's not something just a couple special people are able to do. It's something everyone with a brain is able to do. Obviously, there are some caveats, but for the most part, the average person is able to change their brain. The brain is an incredibly adaptable instrument that adjusts to your environment and its demands. So if you demand more of your brain, if you teach it these methods for how to learn it, then you will be able to achieve much higher results than you ever thought were possible. Once you realize that your brain is limitless and that you're ready to take the steps to become unlimited in the way that you use it, the first step is to become consciously aware of the distractions and the things that are limiting your brain. And one of the big ones pointed out in the books is the use of technology. Technology can distract us, limit our ability to critically think, and overwhelm us with an overload of information. But in this book, it talks about how to use technology consciously so that we can actually use and assimilate the information that's given to us. And one of the main ways you can do this is by having downtime. Don't pick up your phone every time you have a single minute to spare. Allow your brain downtime, because that's when your brain creates these connections between the neurons that strengthen the learning that's taking place. And so this applies to reading too. If you're reading, if you're studying, if you're doing a hard bout of focus, set a timer for 25 minutes. And every 25 minutes, give yourself 5 minutes of downtime to simply wind down, allow your brain to create connections and assimilate everything that you've just been learning, and you will learn a lot more. This also plays on an effect called primacy and recency, the effect that we learn the most of the first thing that we learned and also the most recently learned. So if you read for an hour, you would be most likely to remember the first things that you read and also the last things that you read. And the pieces in the middle, you would not have such good memory and recall of. And so this is another reason why the Pomodoro technique, studying for 25 minutes and taking 5 minutes off of downtime, is more effective, because it allows more primacy, more first starts, and more recency, more recently learned things to be assimilated in our brain. The next way of learning faster is the FASTER acronym. The FASTER acronym really tells you how to make meaningful learning take place. If you start with F, which stands for forget. Forget everything that you think you know. This is what's known as beginner's mind. When you go into something with preconceived knowledge, preconceived notions about what you think is the truth, you close yourself off to really soaking in the information and opening yourself up to new information. So forgetting what you know and taking on what Zen people would call beginner's mind is the key to learning and soaking in more information more effectively. Next, you need to act. Act on the information you learned. I listened to a short podcast with Alex Harmozy where he stated that if you are not acting on or changing your behavior based on the things that you learn, you are dumb. He said it pretty blatantly, but if you're learning these things, if you're listening to podcasts that say the same things over and over on what you need to do to change your life, but you're never doing anything, it's because you're forgetting to act. The best way to learn is by action. And by acting on what you learn, you're firing those neurons in your brain, creating new connections, and also creating meaningful change in your life from the information that you are learning. Ultimately, learning is not to just create more of an information soup inside your brain. It's to change our lives and take action towards what we want and our goals. The next letter of the FASTER acronym is S, which stands for your state. I want you to think about what state you were in when you were in high school, when you were learning. Think about math class. Were you excited? Were you bored, tired, lazy, not really feeling it? That's usually how I felt. And guess how much math I remember? Not a whole lot. But that's because your state is so important for how you learn that it's impossible to learn in a state of boredom, of unexcitement, of lackadaisicalness. But when you are excited, when you are inspired by the things that you are going to learn, you assimilate a lot more because you're tapping into the power of emotion within you. When you provide information with emotion, you get learning. And some powerful things to question, some powerful questions to ask yourself in order to change your state for learning is, how am I going to use this? Why is this important to me? When am I going to use this? Because then it creates actual meaning behind what you're learning rather than just taking in more word soup of information. You are able to think about how it's actually going to change your life and make your life better. The next letter we get to is T, and it is what I'm doing right now. The T stands for teach what you learn. A very smart person once said, to teach is to learn twice. And so when you're going into learning, knowing that you're going to want to teach someone or to teach someone else the information that you're learning, you learn to focus on it way more. And also when you are in the act of teaching it, you are strengthening the neurons and connections in your brain that cement the learning into your long-term memory rather than just keeping it short-term or just barely connected. So it's like kind of something you learn, but not really, you've half learned it. Teaching is what will take you to the next level, and it's one of the huge reasons why I'm teaching you this right now. It's a little bit selfish, but I want to learn this stuff too, guys. And then you get to E, which is firing neurons. This is how learning takes place. I can't quite remember, it's on the tip of my tongue. Enter. You want to enter time in your schedule to learn, because if you don't schedule it, it's probably not going to happen. As soon as you enter time in your schedule, set aside intentional time in order to learn and study. You are taking the first step to actually sitting down to learn and study. And the biggest part is actually showing up. And so entering time in your schedule creates more of the likelihood that you will actually show up to learn and apply these principles that you're learning. Because again, if you're not acting on these principles, if you're not using any of them, there's no point in learning at all. There's no point in watching this video. Go find something else. And then we get to R, which is to review the information as often as possible. Again, this just comes down to your brain. Firing those neurons again and again strengthens the connection between them and transfers things from your short-term to the long-term memory. So the more that you review certain concepts and principles, the more strong the connection is in your brain so that you're able to recall the information more readily and use it more effectively. That is known as the FASTER method of learning. And I hope you guys got something out of this video, but I'm not done yet, because the next most important thing is your self-limiting beliefs. So getting confident, getting close to your self-limiting beliefs, recognizing them, and then reframing them so that they open up your mind to the possibility of learning and moving beyond those limiting beliefs is another huge key in order to learn and also become limitless. I'll have more on that in the next video. If you guys want to take your life to the next level, subscribe, like, comment so more people can see it. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.